Man, that intro gets me every time. I love that shit.
And if you don't get pumped on that, you don't have a pulse.
I owe a little bit of that to you, man. You're the inspiration.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday.
Howdy.
Just me and B tonight. Lynn's doing Lynn things, family things. So she's taking the night off. While we kind of go somewhere different, go somewhere new, go somewhere exciting and fantastic, and somewhere I've always wanted to go with a really special guest, Daniel Benoit. He'll be joining us to talk about his dabbles into the Bigfoot research. And we're going to have another guest coming on to kind of fill in for Lynn. Lyle Lotz is here along with us. Of course, we've got the ECBRO Bigfoot Con coming up on the 18th in Stanton, Virginia at the Holiday Inn Conference Center. RVA Paranormal will be there, as well as us, the other side of us, the Haunted Nights crew, the Twisted Realm crew, the crew. So who knows what might come of that? But it's new. It's something we haven't talked about before on the show. And I thought, man, it's that's right around the corner here on the 18th. It's a pretty big deal. So let's bring a guest on. Let's
do it.
Let's talk Big Feet.
I will say one thing though.
Is that how you say it?
Well, feet? I guess it shows about multiple
Bigfoots. Is that?
Well, that's the thing about this field. The Bigfoot community and the cryptid community is equally as divided as the paranormal field. Because everybody has their thoughts and opinions on what the paranormal is. Same thing with Bigfoot and cryptids. And that's the cool thing about it. And furthermore, before we go on, I am lobbying right now that we have a new RVA shirt that says doing Lynn things. There needs to be the new shirt, doing Lynn things.
Okay. Things on the end.
Things. No, not doing Lynn things. Let's try to keep the show for everybody. Right.
Before we bring on the guests, just some shout outs right there. Supernatural Lost Adventures, Dan, hey, welcome to the stream, man. FPRI's in there as well. John Stevens, good to see you. Ronnie Rickard, thanks for joining the show tonight. If you do have questions, of course, let them know. Put them in the chat. We'll throw them on the screen. We'll let Daniel answer them because I know I got tons of questions. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in the man of the hour, Mr. Daniel Benoit.
Do it.
Hey.
There he is.
How's it going, all right,
man? Everything's going great here. Thank you guys for having me on here.
No problem. Appreciate you coming on. I guess it was a little bit short notice, 2 weeks. We kind of like to get it tied down before then. But thanks for coming on yourself.
Oh, not a problem.
And we're also going to bring in Lyle Lotz. Of course, everybody knows Lyle. He is I couldn't name all the things he does, but number one, he sponsors the stream. Thank you very much. Hey. And of course, with Haunted Nights Paranormal Events, Twisted Realm, Twisted Paranormal Society, L&B Media, lots of things. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But tonight we've got something really cool. I dig in the shirt. Yeah, I'm excited about this one. So Daniel, ECBRO. I guess we'll talk about that in a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about Bigfoot research and how in the world did you get involved with that? Was there an experience that happened that got you kind of into it, or just the thrill of the search, and how long ago did you start this journey?
Well, first of all, in all honesty, it's been just a little over 10 years actually, but it wasn't an experience. It was pretty much constantly seeing things on TV, and the biggest part of it was the 1967 video footage by Mr. Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that footage, but again, it's been around since like I said, 1967. And that video footage alone has been debated over. It's very controversial, and science has been trying to debunk that footage for years. And everything so far has been pointing towards a real flesh and blood, creature or subject. We're talking about like there's been foot tracks found on the site that's been studied and analyzed by professionals, and again, everything points towards it being real. And then of course later on, years came by. Documentaries pop up, bringing that footage up, and like I said, everything, all the work and the efforts they put into that is, it's blows your mind. It's very fascinating. And that there alone was actually a big part of what opened my eyes to jump into this. I mean, I grew up in the woods ever since I was a young kid. I mean, I grew up with a father who hunted all his life. I mean, he drugged me out there in the woods, and so I the woods and nature, it's kind of grew on me. If I fell in love with it. But as I got into the Bigfoot thing, and seeing the Patterson footage, and it's opened up a new world to me. I guess you could say it was a very big curiosity that turned into a passion, and that passion continued to grow over the years. And I decided to start doing some research and some studies and looking into it. I was involved with this before I jumped on social media, because I had no idea how many people were actually involved with this till I started jumping on Facebook and started doing researches, and found out there was all these different groups and forums that were involved with Bigfoot. And, so I didn't know anybody, but I was watching a lot what was being said and put out there as far as theories. And as I tell people, I was like the student in the back of the classroom, just sitting back there taking notes, and then going out in the field and, starting to find things for myself, hearing things and experiencing things. I just started documenting these things. I started, comparing what everybody's associating Bigfoot with. And I came to the point where I had to basically start finding a subject that was closely resembling Bigfoot. The subject of Bigfoot is taken in so many different angles, depending on your belief and your standpoint on this. Me personally, I'll be honest, I kind of stand on this on a flesh and blood point of view. Although I do go in with an open mind, I've had a lot of people try to push and almost force their beliefs on me instead of sharing it as more of an opinion and stating why they believe that, So yeah, long story short, the Patterson footage, and, just seeing things for myself out there. And that was a lot, but that was a lot about what got me started. So, and I could probably go on a little bit more with some other things maybe later. So,
yeah, and one of the reasons why I think this is going to be an excellent show are some of the points that you made. Of course, a lot of times, like I've never had this problem. I've been fascinated with Bigfoot for years, since I was 14, and had what I would call an experience with a Bigfoot. And paranormal is, something that me and my wife love to do. So we started doing that probably about 14 years ago. But it's always kind of been in the back of my mind, and you never really hear the two kind of mentioned together. It's like, paranormal investigating and Bigfoot research or cryptid research is kind of on a different plane for a lot of folks. And I've never really kind of understood why that is, because we're both kind of looking for the same thing. We're looking for answers.
right.
And when you talk about paranormal is just, trying to explain the unusual, trying to explain the non-normal things. And cryptids and Bigfoot, there's a lot of theories out there. Like you said, there's a lot of theories. There's, a lot of different names. So why not? Why not kind of jump into the realm of Bigfoot and cryptid research from the paranormal field?
Exactly.
And vice versa, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, I the funny thing is,
Oh yeah.
I find myself nowadays, when we scroll through social media or anything, and I see like somebody post a paranormal video, like, look at this apparition I caught. I tend to keep on scrolling, but whenever I see something entitled "Bigfoot caught on camera," I have to stop and watch this, because I don't. I'm more intrigued by that kind of a video, because we've all been in some of these haunted locations. We've seen things. We know how that can be debunked, but to me, to fake a Bigfoot video or Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it, I think you have to go into more detail because people are smarter nowadays and they can have maybe analyze footage, I guess, better, to try to see if this is real, this is a hoax. And I'm glad you brought up the Patterson film. And to me, the two coolest pieces, I guess, of video evidence of Sasquatch or a Bigfoot, it would be that film and the one of the skunk ape going across the Everglades. I don't know if they're legit or not, but to see it striding like that through the Everglades is pretty impressive. And with the film, the Patterson film, it's like that could be the holy grail of all Bigfoot evidence.
Right. Well, I'll tell you this. First of all, let me back up. As far as Bigfoot, I've always put him in the realm of the unknown. And I could explain a little bit about that more. But yeah, as far as all these alleged Bigfoot videos, here's the thing. I've come to know that a lot of these, now I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of these are fake Bigfoots because one, I myself, among many others, are familiar with all the different costumes that come out. There's so many different designs, and I've seen these costumes used on trail cameras. And then of course, all these other alleged videos. There is some videos that I think that should have more attention. There is some videos that I feel that are legit that are out there. I think they just need some more attention. But again, as far as all these other videos, a lot of people don't want to believe it because here's the thing. And one thing I noticed in the Bigfoot community, especially on social media, you have all these new people coming in there. But then you have these other people that, we like to call them or refer to them as trolls, internet trolls that like to just put stuff out there and deliberately hoaxing and, think it's funny and claiming that these videos were filmed on their property or filmed by so-and-so. Meanwhile, some of us have already seen these videos and know what the original source is. The latest one, these alleged Bigfoot images that come from the state of New York. No, they did not come from the state of New York. There were still shots from a movie that was produced by, the name of it was called Beacon Bigfoot, and it's got the Bigfoot with a little baby hitchhiking on the back, it's all from a movie, and there's several scenes to that, anyone could look that up, but even when here's the other thing, when you point out the facts of these films, people still don't want to believe it, I don't know, it could be frustrating sometimes because, somebody like me, I care about the truth,
Correct.
And if we know facts or if we know the truth about something, I like to present it. I like to put it out there. But again, you're going to have those that don't want to fall for, they just don't want to believe the truth. They rather live their fantasy,
Sure.
So absolutely.
Yeah, I think we see the same thing on our side a lot as well within our community. And, so it's just really tied together. It comes down to that evidence and whether it's believable or not. So, but yeah, great people like you that research it and study it so good, that that's fabricated. You've got a great eye for what's good and what's bad out there. So, but yeah.
Do you find it easier to when people post footage and to scroll by without commenting as opposed to calling out obvious things like that's from the 1976 movie entitled
Well, I think it all depends. I see stuff all the time. I'll scroll through it. I won't, regardless if it looks familiar or not. And because I get people, for example, I get people that send me stuff all the time. And, a lot of times, it's stuff I've already known about or seen about. And, some things I don't know if they're real or not. Some of it, I'm not familiar with. But again, like the one I was talking about, the recent photos that were going around. Yes, I was commenting on it. I was trying to, I was even sharing a source link to show people what it is. Sometimes I don't always have the source to show, because if you just say something, people are not going to believe you unless you can show proof. But that's the way it is these days. But they're willing to show of believe something, on the internet, because we all know it's not safe to believe everything on the internet. Period. So, because it's sad because there's a lot of gullible people out there, and it just sometimes that bothers me where it shouldn't, but there's a lot of gullible and naive people out there. So,
True.
So
we got a few questions here.
Yeah.
First one, Supernatural Lost Adventures. Did you see the footage from Amarillo Zoo, some werewolf or chupacabra thing?
Footage.
I think that just came out in like the last 2 days. It's not really like a video, but it's like a photograph of some sort of weird behind the ceiling fence.
I actually seen that, and a friend of mine actually was sharing it to me. Actually, we were talking about it briefly before we actually got on here, and I don't know, that there was very strange. It was weird. I will say this, and this is exactly what I told him. I have seen numerous still shot photos that look grainy and black and white that look like that. Like we were talking about the fake Bigfoot costumes, all the costumes out there. I have seen trail cameras with fake Bigfoots in them. I have, and these are they look like legit trail camera images. And I mean, perhaps they were where they used their costume to walk in front of it. And the other thing, I have seen several photos with, again, known costumes. Mm-hmm. And it was proven to show how easy that was, where people, for example, I've seen one, and we started sharing it around just to make a point. There was one that had Chewbacca and one of the Ewoks in it. It looked like a modern day trail, Yeah,
that I believe in that. I believe that's
So I mean, as far as images like that, you don't know where to take it. You don't know, where to go with it, because imagery is so easy to fake these days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm good at Photoshop. I could make a Photoshop of any of you guys in the jungle or on the state, Empire State Building, taking over for King Kong, So,
that's awesome.
So I mean, it's it's whatever.
John Stevens.
Okay.
Good question.
Other than PNG film, what would you believe is the best evidence outside of that popular piece of footage?
My evidence? No, I'm just
Good answer.
No, I mean, not to sound arrogant, but I mean, to add more to that, I mean, when I go out in the woods exploring and everything, I have come across a series of tracks over the years. And I'm talking about bipedal tracks ranging anywhere from 13 up to 15, 16, even 17 inches, anywhere from 4 to 7 inches on width. But now, as far as other footage that's out there or any other evidence, there is others. Like I said, there's some other video footage out there. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's kind of a well-known one, but it's well-known, but I don't think there's any, there hasn't been much attention given to it as far as science goes, or trying to debunk it. I believe it's called the Freeman footage. Yeah, that's it. There's a footage. It's called the Freeman footage, and yes, it's a daytime video, and it's kind of grainy. I don't know the quality or the year of the film. I don't know that information right off the top of my head. But that particular video footage, I feel that was some good evidence. If it is fake, it's a real good fake. I will say, just like the Patterson footage, there's people to this day that actually think that's fake, but there's so many different facts that support it from not being fake, but as far as the Patterson footage, here's a couple facts I'll throw out there that I've learned. That one, back during that time frame or time period, Hollywood, Disney, these networks, these groups that they didn't even have the technology or the quality to produce anything that looked anything as good as that. I mean, look at the Planet of the Apes. I mean, that's what they had. Patty, what they call her Patty, because in the video footage, as you can see, there was breast present, and even when they analyze and stabilize that video footage, there was a lot of muscular details that you could see on movement, on the legs and so forth. All right. So I'm seeing that Freeman footage was before the PG film. All right. Yeah. See, I was not aware of that, but I think that was pretty decent footage. I feel that should have had some attention, but I don't think it did. Because you could clearly see, anyone who's familiar with that, you could see the subject working its way through the woods, through a lot of foliage and everything. And I don't know. I feel like that might just be legit, because it was impressive to me. I mean, everyone has their own take on that, but so I mean, then if you look at, there's certain credible individuals out there who studied and analyzed a lot of the foot tracks that were collected over the years from various sources. And for Dr. Jeff Meldrum, he believes that there is something really out there, that he can point out the facts of the tracks that he's analyzed and studied, because that's his specialty. He's an expert in that field. So between the foot tracks and some of the footage that's out there, I do believe that's some of the best evidence we might have. Is it good enough for science? No. Science is very objective, because science, with their approach on their objectiveness, everything could be faked and hoaxed. I mean, which that's true. That's true. It can be, and so we have to take everything with a grain of salt.
Yeah, sure.
So.
Why do you? I mean, one of my questions is, that footage was captured so long ago. Why do you think, with the technology that we have today, we can't capture something a lot better? That's just the one thing that, and I mean, that's the one thing that gets me is, and I know Brandon and myself and Tana and all, we've talked about it since we're getting ready to work together this weekend, and Brandon came across a good point. It's like anymore, it's like any footage that you get is like grainy. And it's even with today's technology, you can't get clear footage. And I think that's where we're trying to understand whether this, like we talked about, this realm, is there more to this realm than just, the actual blood, body and blood type creature? Is there more of an entity out there?
Are they aliens?
That he comes and goes. Yeah, it's just been intriguing to watch, and believe me, I know you study, and you're the expert here when it comes to this. And my fascination over since we met last year, and got to be a part of the ECBRO last year, it was like my fascination with this whole thing has been piqued, and I've been trying to watch and do as much as I can to see. That's why this weekend, it's like, man, it's like a dream getting to go out there and do this with you. And, but like we had talked about, we want to try some different techniques. We want your techniques. We want to see if you want to be open to our techniques, to see if there's more to this than just body and blood. There's more of that type of thing out there. Mm-hmm. Anymore, you're seeing stuff like relating to entities, to dark shadows, to lights in the sky anymore. A lot of sightings being related to alien stuff. It's weird. It's just the stuff that I've been watching. I don't know if you see that too, if you pay attention to that too, or what. But that's why it's skin. I see somebody down there says skinwalkers. That's why my curiosity is just up. Maybe I'm watching the wrong shows or whatever, trying to learn more about this, but that's why I want to get in the field.
Yeah,
do this.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything such as a wrong show when it comes to what's presented, because it gives us an open. That's what for us to consider that that gives us an open mind on the other possibilities. So,
Yeah, I see
okay.
that right there.
Oh, okay. So yeah, but as far as back to the grainy video footage, that's something I've often scratched my head on. A lot of it, some of it can be explained by someone pulling out the camera and shocked, mesmerized by what they're seeing. Then again, you have some that may not want clear focus on the image itself,
Right.
in order to hide the details of what it really is.
Correct.
I think we live in a society today that we're almost culture shocked to the point where it's like, oh look, there's an asteroid falling from the sky.
What?
Yeah.
And that's how it is.
Yeah.
Rock solid, not really giving a shit what's happening. And
Hey, it's Brandon Johnson.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh look, the hurricane. Oh look, it's terrible. There goes the house.
So a couple more questions. Daniel, obviously you're from Virginia. So I imagine a lot of your research probably comes from the Blue Ridge Mountains and things like that. So a couple of questions related to that from Fredericksburg Paranormal Research and Investigation. Are there Bigfoot sightings in the Fredericksburg area that you know of? And what's the hot spot in Virginia for Bigfoot sightings?
Well, as far as close to Virginia, you got Louisa County. Louisa County, there's been several reports and sightings in that area. I believe Fredericksburg as well. I used to live in Spotsylvania. So, if you search around the state parks around Louisiana, like Lake Anna, that's a good spot. Go to the state park there around Lake Anna. And then actually, even just south of Fredericksburg, you got Caroline County, which Caroline County, where I grew up at, it's great. It's starting to build up a little bit. So, but there's still a lot of forests around there. I have people that live in pretty well developed subdivisions. One of the gated communities I used to live in, Lake Caroline. You got bears coming through there. I never heard of bears coming through there, but bears are walking through the neighborhood, So, a lot of wildlife moving around where you wouldn't expect them to be. So, but as far as sightings and everything else in that general area, as far as a hotspot, I would definitely focus in Louisa County, and then your western parts of Spotsylvania. Because Spotsylvania, Fredericksburg, it's very well developed. But I would go a little north of Fredericksburg, perhaps. Actually, if you go east of Fredericksburg, over to towards Montrose and Westmoreland, out those areas, believe it or not, even though it's closer to the bay, there's a lot of areas out there that's had reports of sightings and other strange things that I can recall. But my main focus is where I do a lot of research and studies is in the George Washington National Forest. And the George Washington National Forest has well over 130,000 plus acres that connects into other forests that runs into West Virginia and so forth. And Jefferson National Forest down Southwest Virginia. But there's reports that come from all over. I mean, I've gathered and went and met up with several eyewitnesses over the years. A couple of them fairly recent. Me and my girlfriend Jessica, which she just I saw her saying hello on here earlier. Jessica Moore. We've done some investigations together recently, and down in Christiansburg, we were there a couple weeks ago. And then there's other reports that we're doing. We did one while we were up in Pennsylvania this past weekend. We attended a Bigfoot convention. I was a speaker up there, and we met a couple that shared some very awesome information with us. We did an investigation on their private property, and actually we found some very interesting things, including tracks. I mean, finding the tracks where I found them, I believe that supported their story, And then the other gentleman that was with that lady, he had a very bizarre occurrence that took place there, which that there I would almost put in the realm of the paranormal, but it was very fascinating. I interviewed him and recorded that information as well. So, but yeah, I mean, Bigfoot evidence, Bigfoot's whereabouts. I wouldn't limit his locations, but his whereabouts, because like many other wildlife, and they travel, and I believe some do work and stay in certain areas to a certain extent. So again, I think it just varies, really. But yeah, here in the Shenandoah Valley, there's been several eyewitnesses. There's been several accounts here. Some of them actually not far from here. One of the last places I worked at, my supervisor told me about a sighting that his wife had, and his wife came into work and sat down just to tell me her story, which I thought was fascinating. That she would come in there just to tell me her story. Apparently, a couple of the other women that she worked with when she used to work there, she was retired. So a couple of others have heard her story. So, her story happened right here in New Hope, not far from here. So,
Wow.
that was by now the story is probably about probably over close to 30 years old by now. Because it was only about 20 years old when she told me the story. So, that was almost 10 years ago when I heard that story. But now I actually have another eyewitness who actually saw one in the New Hope area just a few years ago, which I have yet to meet up with that individual. So, because they had agreed to take me to their location. So it was a young girl. She knew it wasn't a bear. It was constantly on 2 feet, So, but yeah, there's some other information I've yet to learn about that.
So
But
let me ask you this. I know there's more questions. When somebody tells you that they have a Bigfoot encounter or an encounter with the cryptid, what kind of encounters are you seeing mostly? Like, is it mostly finding tracks? Is it actually having an eyewitness account? Is it hearing sounds, seeing, tree bending? What do you usually find is the most common evidence?
as far as reported encounters, a lot of them are visuals. A lot of them are actually sightings. There's some experiences or occurrences where I've talked to hunters, and they don't know, but they know it wasn't no known species of animal. But I've had hunters sitting out there at the tree stands hearing tree knocks when it's dead calm. I mean, wood on wood banging, surrounding their area where they're hunting. I've heard some other crazy, bizarre things where they've actually seen weird lightings and other things from the trees, unexplainable things. So I mean, like I said, most of it's sightings and some of it's hearing things and unknown vocals on some occasions. But as I mentioned, some of it's very paranormal too. It's not. I don't hear a lot of that, but I do get that. So,
Okay.
But yeah. So absolutely.
So, getting back to Lyle's question on the footage. I mean, obviously, I would have to imagine that a lot of the things that you get aren't necessarily, or you see, aren't necessarily of people that are out looking for Bigfoot.
Right.
They're hiking.
Right.
They're remote. They're just out in enjoying the outdoors, and this happens to come across from a distance, even with a good phone. Or they're not carrying around 4K cameras or DSLRs or anything like that. They're typically using a pocket cam or a cell phone or something like that. But I mean, do you think that kind of plays into it? And do you think that, first off, do you think that there are more encounters than are documented? And I used to hunt, and you're in the woods, it's hard to spot a deer against the foliage and things like that.
Oh yeah.
That they're out there and people just aren't aware, and they don't see them. But they're closer than you actually think. And do you think that they're migratory? And have you seen any patterns where sightings will dissipate in one area and move north or south depending on the weather?
I'll say yes, yes, and yes to several of that. Yeah, as far as people, hunters, I mean, yeah, you made a good point. As far as we're out there hunting, I know I've had deer come within view. I never seen them. Shoot, I've been in the woods with my daughter when she was younger, and she would point the deer out right in front of us across the field, and I was like, "What?" I wouldn't see them until they run off, but yeah, it's amazing. She's always had a good eye on stuff like that. But I mean, I like to believe I have a pretty good vision of things out in the woods as well. I guess, as far as finding evidence out there and talking to people, when you present to other people who you are and what you do, I mean, I've had hunters and hikers tell me, well, I'm out in the woods all the time. I never seen these things. And a lot of it is because they're not looking, as far as finding the evidence and tracks and so forth. But a majority, like back to what you were saying, as far as how people have their sightings, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them that I've heard were usually driving and had road crossings. I've heard older stories, of people that were hunting out in tree stands, were hearing things, crazy, weird commotions just through the thick foliage, and have had sightings of a Bigfoot walking out in the open and away from them while they're up in their tree stands. But yeah, like I said, majority of the sightings happen when people don't expect it, when they're driving along a back road or wherever, or going up the mountain. I've actually met up with a couple of these people that have had these road crossings. I've had people share stories with me long before they ever knew what I did, that had no clue who I was and what I did. I've had people come out in the open and tell me what they've seen and where they've seen it. And the funny thing is, I camp and I explore in this area, where they tell me, where they've seen these things. And of course, over the years, I've come to learn that they are there. I mean, I know they're there. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember everything you were covering there. So,
migratory?
Yes, as far as migratory, yeah, that's another good thing. A lot of people believe that, like a lot of as far as a lot of the wildlife, some of them believe that they may travel literally out of state, which I think that's a little too extreme, and then come back. I mean, I think there would be more sightings if they ventured that much, further out of state. But I believe that they come and go throughout the woods and mountains. For example, when the seasons change, a lot of your wildlife will migrate and work towards where their food source is available. As far as your prey animals, they're going to live and strive in areas where they can survive. Your apex predators, which, Bigfoot's basically an apex predator. We like to consider him on top of the food chain, out in his domain. So you figure where the prey moves is where they're going to move. To me, that would only make sense. I mean, if all their food source leaves that area, and if, for example, if people believe, and I believe, that they do eat deer, it's a good source of protein and calories for them, I'm sure, and I believe they're also, vegetarian. So I believe they're omnivores, so again, where the prey moves, they move. So I guess, yes, you could say they are very migratory. So, in my opinion, I mean, the way I look at it, consider it, because you got to consider the other wildlife, how they operate and how they move and behave. So
for someone that, let's just say that, and of course, the reason why we're having this conversation is kind of, crossing the streams between the paranormal investigation versus the cryptids. If this was something that someone wanted to get into, aside from the obvious dangers of a lot of times you're in the woods at night, so just knowing where you're at, not getting lost, not falling off any cliffs or anything like that. What are some of the inherent dangers of doing this? Is it do you recommend something you do by yourself? Should you do it with the group? Is there a danger from, is Bigfoot itself dangerous if you have one of those encounters? And what's some advice that you would give to somebody that was just starting out and getting into the research of Bigfoot?
Well, as for me to say Bigfoot's not dangerous, I think that would be a lie. But then again, there's not one report have I ever heard of him or her being aggressive.
Just in the commercials, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. or watching a Bigfoot horror flick. There's a lot of them out there,
the Bigfoot beef jerky.
Yeah, bring your jackalins with you.
Yes, exactly. You need something to ransom off your life. So, it just like I tell a lot of people, just like any other wildlife, anything that lives out in the wild, don't put yourself in that position. Don't force that hand. Basically, is what I'm saying. Is you don't want to underestimate them. But I've heard so many stories and reports of people having face-to-face encounters, like right here in Virginia. And not once have you ever heard of the Bigfoot coming after them, hurting them, causing them any harm, because a lot of it's basically the scenarios are where you just happen to walk up into an area where there was already a Bigfoot, or you caught them at the right time where basically they're both like, hey, neither one, like the Bigfoot and the person, it's like, oh, basically you're not supposed to be here. Like, or the Bigfoot's like, crap, you're not supposed to see me, I don't know. It just, I personally have never heard of anything being aggressive here, just here in Virginia. There's been other stories and reports of, I don't know if you want to call them assaults, but stories of Bigfoots throwing stones, beating on houses. And, there's some of those reports out there too. Some of them are probably perhaps more on the West Coast. I've heard some stories. I've had a rock thrown at me in the national forest. It was about a football-sized stone, after passing through a particular area, which I thought was very, I don't know how you want to put it. It caught me off guard. It was a little bit of a shock, but it didn't scare me. So, oh yes, I'll get to that here shortly, David. Yeah. So as far as the other thing was, man.
What would you recommend to anybody that's going out for the first time?
Oh, as far as like you mentioned about as far as going out in numbers, that's always safer. It's always recommended. But I will say this: if you know the area, if you know the terrain, that's something very different. I know I've had people criticize me for going out in the woods constantly by myself. I've done it for years. Because the more and more I've gotten to know like my general research area, I just feel comfortable being out there. There's very few times I've been out there by myself where I've felt that sensation of fear or like extreme caution out there, so it's you're taking a chance if you're going out there by yourself, unless you know the terrain. I mean, one of my encounters took place when I was alone. One of them took place when it was 6 of us together. So, but neither one was a dangerous situation. But you just got to be familiar with the potential dangers, such as, snakes, venomous snakes, and there's other predators out there. I mean, people don't want to believe it, but we have mountain lions here in Virginia. I'm a witness to that. My parents have seen one, and they actually seen a couple of them. And so many other reports here in Augusta and Rockingham County alone. Your authorities will deny that you saw them, but but they're here. People are seeing them. Wolves. We got wolves here too. But as far as coyotes, that could be a potential danger. One of the first times I've had Jessica out in the woods with me. It was probably just around noontime, and I was taking her along in one of my areas, and in the middle of the daytime, as we started approaching this particular area, we started getting howled at. Like they were literally right there on the other side of that tree line. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I told her to get behind me, and I had my hand on my sidearm ready to start blasting. But hoping those 17 rounds were enough if need be. But yeah, you just never know. Yeah, it's a risk you're taking if you're going out by yourself. I mean, unless you get to know the area, which is very important to do anyway. You want to know your terrain. You want to know the animals and the wildlife that are known to exist in that area. It's all good stuff to know, especially for research purposes. So, yeah.
And a couple more questions in Virginia. So, with the reports that you've seen and your research and your findings, what are we talking about for an average height of a Old Dominion Bigfoot, and what's the average size of a footprint that someone could expect to look for in Virginia? And is that the same everywhere? Is it a typical height and size that you're looking for as far as Bigfoot? And
well, here in Virginia, on average, the average reported height is around 8 feet tall. 7 to 8 feet tall. Now, that's not everywhere, because I have some reports in other locations and states have reported up to 10 feet, maybe even 12 feet. Now, I can't call them liars because I didn't see what they've seen. I mean, some people believe that some of these height estimations are because people don't know how to estimate proper height.
Jessica kind of,
He's got to look away on that one.
Yeah.
Jessica getting on him.
Get him, Jessica.
Yeah. Well, she was one of my vendors for next week, but no. She doesn't mess with it.
Kind of rolling back time here a little bit. There was a question on here that kind of ties in with the question I have. Supernatural Lost Adventures asking, has there been any attempt by you or anybody to actually trap one? And along with that question, my question with that is there a certain reason why we have not come across either a carcass from one or there has not been one captured?
Those are good questions. One, I myself, among many others, believe that they should remain unharmed. Some people believe that they might need to be protected. And that goes along with the other theories why a lot of your authorities will not admit to the subject. Because if it became a publicly known species, there's a lot that could be involved with that as far as could they be put on the endangered species list? Two, if that was to happen, that's going to stop a lot of things. That's going to, one, the economy could be affected. Two, if it becomes a publicly known species to exist, then the non-believers will start believing that, the government's saying we got this here. And because a lot of people ain't going to believe in something. A lot of your non-believers don't believe because if it's not on the known species list to exist, a lot of them don't believe anyway. But if people start having fear that, Bigfoot's in these forests, that's going to be intimidating. People are going to stop spending time and, going out and spending money to attend these or participate in these areas and whatnot. Now, as far as capturing one, again, I just believe that they should remain alone. Just keep them in peace. They're not, as far as I'm concerned, they're not bothering nobody. And let's see.
So, do you think the government has the answers and they're just not put? Is there a cover up involved with that? And if there is, why do you think the government would want to keep this particular species under wraps?
Well, I don't know if there is a cover up. Some people believe there actually is. Some people believe the government does know. If that's the case, I believe the reasons for not mentioning would simply be for economic reasons or economy reasons, and the state of fear that people would be in. Um, again, as far as if the species was to become publicly known, it could have a lot of effect on the economy. For example, back in 1981, when the spotted owl was discovered in Washington State, immediately the logging industry, which is a big part of today's industry and economy, the logging actually came to a dead stop and put a lot of people out of work, all because of that little spotted owl. And so, think about something as big as a Bigfoot that's considered. Some people believe that they're human in some sense. And yeah, again, if they're living in the forest, national forest, for example, it's federal land. The government owns it. So yeah, if the government wanted to, admit to these things, there could be all kinds of issues. The way I look at it, and back to Brandon, you were talking about as far as why hasn't a body been discovered? That's another good question, because one, a lot of people believe that they bury their dead. Mm-hmm. I get asked that question sometimes, and especially from a skeptic or non-believer, I usually come back with a question before I actually get into trying to explain that. I mean, because we know that mountain lions exist. We know that bears exist. I mean, we got to think, when was the last time the remains of a bear was discovered that's died of natural causes? Mm-hmm. Same thing with mountain lions. They're predators. They're apex predators. For example, bears, when they start to get ill, they usually go into hiding. They go off into a deep den or somewhere and they hide. Same thing with a mountain lion. Like even a domestic cat, when they become ill, a lot of times a cat will go off and they'll wander off and they'll die off on their own. Mm-hmm. Now, on top of that, you got to consider all the other critters. When these animals and these predators die off, they attract other predators that start scattering their remains. And then on top of that, here's another good thing a lot of people don't realize. Entertaining the thought that Bigfoot alone is a primate, which I believe he is some form of primate. Unlike us, we're human primates. Then you have your non-human primates. Regardless of how you look at the subject, let's talk about bone remains real quick in acidic soil. Most average bone remains in soil, depends on the acidity of the soil. According to studies and research, bones will usually end up deteriorating in over 20 years. So if there is remains that become, that if they do bury their own dead, and if the soil is very acidic, which a lot of our soil is here, it's more acidic out there in the Pacific Northwest because it's considered like a rainforest. These are things to consider as well. The soil and the remains. If you break down for those who know the term taphonomy, the breakdown process of the body and the decomposition and the stages of the mortises and all the above, if you tie them all together and consider everything, to me, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. So that's something to consider. And then, the earth takes over. I've found several deer carcasses and remains over the years. And I have actually accidentally stumbled across deer remains that's, as far as when I say remains, bones, that were actually taken over by the earth, where the earth was grown over them, where they're fully coated with moss and other growth. So, and then you got your leaf litter, your pine litter, everything that the forest produces every year. A lot of this kind of creates what I call a natural blanket, where it hides a lot of what we don't see underneath the surface. So, so these are things I look at. These are things I like to point at. So,
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So, I know we're getting kind of close on time, but we got a little thing coming up next weekend, June 18th. The Virginia Bigfoot Con at the Holiday Inn and Conference Center in Stanton, Virginia. Of course, like I've said, I've mentioned that we're going to be vendors there for the first time, RVA Paranormal. So if you're watching the stream tonight, we're there. Obviously, we're there because we're curious. We're curious
Mhm.
about, we want to learn more about this, like
Yep, definitely.
Bigfoot and other encryptids, and we hope that folks that aren't necessarily involved in the paranormal will speak to us as well.
Mhm.
And I think what we're going to find is that we've got a lot in common as far as our research and our endpoint. While you're researching something that is a flesh and believed to be a flesh and blood living creature, ours are kind of afterlife type things, but a lot of our approach is the same. So that's kind of what we want to share. We want to share what we do, and we want people to come to our tables. RVA Paranormal, I think FPRI is going to be there. Haunted Nights Paranormal Events, and Lyle with as well with the Twisted Realm. Come ask. We want to take your questions about what we do as well, and see if we can find some common ground. I'm stoked, dude. I'm ready to go. I want to go. I want to go. I want to go. Like, I mean, I've had a couple of experiences with it, but I can honestly say that I've never actually gone out and tried to locate evidence for it. But I mean, from what you're telling me, dude, it sounds exciting and adventurous and right up my alley. So,
Oh yeah.
tell us a little bit about the upcoming con and where people can go. And if you're watching the stream and you agree, come check us out. It's
Oh
right up
yeah.
the road, just an hour and a half maybe from Richmond. So it's very centrally located. But what do people need to know about this conference, and how can they get involved, and what do they need to do?
Well, first of all, we gladly welcome everybody. I don't care if you believe or don't believe; it's for everybody. First of all, yeah, we're gonna have a good variety of vendors set up there. We are going to have, you know, podcast teams there. You're one of the few that will be there. I know one of our podcast teams, coming from up north. They'll be actually broadcasting live, doing interviews at their table. So that's something, if you want to do, you're more than welcome to. If you want to interview people like that. So yeah, as far as we got several guest speakers, we're gonna have raffles, and one other thing too. We always said if Bigfoot doesn't attract people there, we have the Autobots from the Transformers that'll be live in action there. So yeah, so we got them coming there, which we're very excited. They're coming all the way down from Bangor, Maine. So yeah, just a setup. They're gonna have a nice setup in the side room. Basically where Lyle and his group is going to be set up at. They're going to be set up in the main hallway, where all the sponsors and the VIP vendors is what I call them, because all the traffic is going to have to come right through them to get into the other side room. So yeah, that's what I was going to point that out earlier when we got started. Was Lyle and his team, they're sponsors of our event, and we're very honored and we're very thankful for that too. So.
I tell you, after last year's event, I mean, it was very rewarding actually to come and see the amount of people that you had in the little town of New Hope, Virginia. I mean, that school, to see the amount of people you had come and support your event, it was just like, man, we got to do this. We got to do this every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and that's where, like what John was talking about, people coming out and talking to us, paranormal people. There was a lot of curiosity that was going on when they came in that room. I was like, "What's this all about?" so yeah, we gotta make another visit, and we'll be on board every year to be there with you and support you, because I really appreciate
absolutely, it. And I really appreciate it too, because this is the Virginia Bigfoot event is what I call it's my baby. It's something I do for the community. I do it to spread awareness of the Bigfoot phenomenon, in subject here, and what I like about what's going on this year, that we have the paranormal coming into this. So yeah, I love adding a twist to it. So why not add the Twisted Realm, so,
Thank you.
And we'll be, me and Lynn, I'm excited. I'm sorry Lynn couldn't be here tonight, but I know she's looking forward to next weekend as well, and meeting everyone. but we'll be running back and forth between tables, kind of splitting
Oh, yeah.
time because we work with Lyle and them very
Yeah.
closely on the Twisted Realm as well. So
Absolutely.
we'll be back and forth between the tables. We'll be at one or the other. Jessica would love to meet you. Come by. Anybody else that comes by. Daniel, tickets at the door.
Yes. Well, yeah, I was going to mention it's first of all, it's free to shop and browse all the vendors.
Nice.
The admission fees for the speakers and the meet and greet inside the conference room that will be separated from this, where all the vendors are. It is a $20 admission charge. However, if you're military, law enforcement, fire, and EMS, even if you're a doctor or nurse, if you provide your ID at the check-in booth, you get half off. So that's something for
awesome.
something we're starting to do there. So some of our vendors actually will be catering to military and law enforcement with some of their crafts that they've done, and we got some really great raffle items. We got some high quality raffle items that were handcrafted. I'm talking about made in Virginia, handcrafted Damascus steel knives. And one of the dice that were made for me, this guy here, he's Native American. He lives up in Northern Virginia. And one of the knives with the paperwork that he sent me, because I got two of his knives that he's made, and they're both Damascus steel. According to the paperwork on the one of them is retailed at $3,200. So that's actually going to be one of the raffle items. So most raffle items, usually we get items. We usually go around to the different vendors, and if they're willing to donate something, because we usually raffle off items for $5 a ticket. But the high quality items, such as the knives, we're going to be setting up a little higher this year because I hate to see them just be given away for a low price. So gonna have to make a little bit of money on that.
Yeah, you got to. But again,
real quick, if there's enough money put into the raffle buys, I do plan on doing a 50-50 money drawing. So it depends on the amount that gets put into the raffles. I wasn't really announcing that, but yeah, I will announce it at the event if we get enough into the money pot for the raffles. So if it's a minimum of $500, I might do a 50-50, so we'll see how we gotta, I want to play that by ear,
So is there a VIP ticket?
The only VIP tickets that we offered were basically front row seating, and with that it was only a few dollars more per ticket, and you get a raffle ticket, a free raffle ticket involved with that. That's the only VIP we did. The front row seating, I think it's sold out. So yeah, and that was only $30 a ticket, so it was like $10 more. So
honestly, I'm going to challenge everybody watching the stream that's involved in the paranormal. Ronnie, you guys up there, come out and see us. Come out and hang out. Let's show support for ECBRO, the Bigfoot conference. Come on, say hi, check out the speakers. $20, it's a great deal. And the fact it's open, the floor is open from to come in and see and visit the vendors. That's fantastic and something that more people need to do. So I appreciate you for doing that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And not just promoting her because she's my girlfriend, but Jessica, her company, Broken Branch. They, for those who are not familiar with their merchandise, it's awesome. Jessica's brother, Jeff, he is the artist between, everything they got on, you can't see it, but I'm actually wearing one of their shirts. It's this Bigfoot right here it's actually called Bluegrass. It's a Sasquatch bluegrass t-shirt that they designed when they went to a bluegrass festival. But that's just an example, but they produced some amazing stuff. Like I said, Jeff, her brother, is the artist of everything they have. Even that they have these Bigfoot bird feeders. They're like approximately 2 feet tall. People love them. So yeah.
I got mine.
So check out the Broken Branch. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you guys did get one. Yes. Yeah, mine's in the backyard with other hanging bird feeders.
I actually use it at events. Believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
Put it up there.
Yeah. Yeah, Jessica, sometimes when she has her display ones, usually she puts candy or something in one of them, so for display. But yeah, people, I'm from, going to the events and with Jessica, people have bought them just to put in their house, to put their mail in or their keys or whatever they want, so remote controls for the TV. So yeah. So there's some cool Bigfoot merchandise there. So yeah.
So Lyle, anything you want to share with us?
Well, I mean, I know between myself and Brandon and Tana, we are getting the true honor to actually get to work with Daniel this weekend in the field.
Right on.
And it's going to be it's a new series that Brandon and I are producing. It's called Hometown Haunts, and we're going to go out and explore Mr. Daniel's experience that he had in his area. So it's going to be very interesting. And we're excited. I mean, that's why I'm so pumped and ready to go do this that I don't know. I'm just so excited to do this.
And when amazing. That comes out, where are people going to be able to go watch that?
Well, that's going to be of course, our series, The Twisted Realm, right now is on Paraflix Paranormal Plus, which is a streaming network that we moved to back in March of last year. And Paraflix is very excited for this new series. So we're glad to be having Daniel as our first filming for it. So it's going to be really good. It's going to be exciting. I know that.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Huh?
Is Tana doing this too?
Oh yes, she's ready. Believe me, I mean, it's like I see Jessica on here, and I know that Daniel, you said you didn't know for sure if she's going to be able to come out, but if she's more than welcome, because I know I'm going to probably. Yeah. Tana is more of our investigator in this series. So I
know Tana was a little leery about walking in the woods.
But I think she'll be fine. She'll be fine.
Yeah, she'll be fine.
Yeah.
You're not going to scare her to death, are you?
So
yeah, there won't be nothing to worry about there. But
but real quick, before we take off, of course, I want to thank Lyle for coming on, and for Haunted Nights Paranormal Events, of course. We kind of keep the division there between RVA and Pearsonville and Haunted Nights. Of course, Haunted Nights Paranormal Events is something we help with, but we're excited to have you sponsoring the String Force this year. Some things that we've got coming up with them. Real quick, June 24th and 25th, we've got the Dinner with a Ghost, the company Dinner with a Ghost, coming to St. Albans from Whitfield to do their thing there. So we're really excited about that. So you can find out more about all of these on the Haunted Nights Paranormal Events Facebook page. And then Chris and Mike are going to be coming from the Raid Chasers on July 9th back to St. Albans. We're going to go from where we were freezing our asses off in January to completely burning the hell up in July. But don't let that discourage you. Think about this. You get to see Chris and Mike sweating. Missouri State Penitentiary coming up September 10th in Jefferson City, Missouri. This one is big. First time at this location. This site is huge. First time for Haunted Nights Paranormal Events, venturing that far out into the heartland. But again, all of these are going to be available for you to get tickets on the Facebook page, Haunted Nights Paranormal Events. Go check those out. Give them a like. And then, of course, like I said, Bigfoot Con coming up, Holiday Inn and Conference Center, June 18th. We'll be there along with Haunted Nights Paranormal Events and the Twisted Realm. So if you're going, stop by, say hi, get your tickets. As Daniel said, $20. It's growing every year. It's going to keep on growing. And as long as we keep promoting it and making friends in the field, let's keep the ball rolling, man. Let's keep it growing.
Awesome.
Just a quick note, real quick, for that Dinner with a Ghost coming up in St. Albans on the 25th. Of course, it's a 2-night event, 24th, 25th. 24th is an investigation night, 25th dinner night. There's only 5 tickets left for the dinner.
Oh, better hurry.
So
it's a good dinner.
Trying to hold out.
Going to serve you cheeseburgers. I mean, you're going to get a 4-course soup, salad, protein,
protein filled,
and dessert. I mean, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic dinner.
And at St. Albans, of all places.
So. Yeah, and good luck staying awake for the investigation after that dinner, because man, they do it right. But you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Daniel needs to come and do
a paranormal investigation with us.
I'll be more than glad to. I know Jessica. Me and Jessica both talked about it before. I know one of the past events that the Twisted Realms had that we really wanted to go because it was actually one of the Civil War houses here in Virginia. and I forget what something came up where we couldn't do it, but yeah, but we definitely want to do it. I think that'll be a lot of fun. I'm totally down for it. As long as there's food there, I'm good to go. No, I'm just joking.
I mean, anytime you want, the thing is, anytime you want to come, Daniel, you just get with me, brother, and we've got
okay,
you
absolutely.
So about that, brother.
Yeah, this year's been very busy for me. We've been booked at other events. I got other speaking engagements coming up here in the future. So, so my PTO from work is pretty well spread out right now. So, and then I got a week off coming up prior to our October 8th event that we have in Wares Cave, Virginia. So that's another Bigfoot festival that's happening here in Virginia that we host. Last October was the first time hosting it, and Lyle and them were there, and so it's going to be a little bit bigger and better this year as well because we have a little bit more food trucks, and so we try to cater for everybody. So for these events, we do have guest speakers set up for that event as well. So there's a lot going on this year. It's been very exciting and exhausting so far this year, but so far it's been worth it. So yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I knew we were going to run over going into this because it's just so fascinating.
It is. There's so many more questions that I could ask that we just haven't got to. So it's like
we're going to have you back. We're going to have to have you back. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would be more than glad to come back. So absolutely.
I tell you what, I'd like to chat with you a little more. So after we break out of here and end the stream, if you can hang out in the lobby, we'll give you some time for a bio break if you want to. But if you can hang out for a few more minutes, I've got a couple more questions I'd like to ask you.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. And real quick, if I could throw it out there, if anyone wants other information for the event coming up next weekend, just go to www.vabigfootcon.com. So. That's our official event website, so they can check that out there. And then there's other upcoming events I have to update, but some of them may have already passed, but I need to update the information on there. So, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And also, like I said, go check them out, ECBRO conference there, as well as check out ECBRO on Facebook as well. Daniel, appreciate you coming on and talking with us. Lyle, appreciate you joining us.
Thank you guys. Thank y'all for having me.
Feel a lot better now as a paranormal team going into a Bigfoot conference, and I'm hoping that everybody will come by and say hi. So a lot of people in chat that are on the Bigfoot research side of things. So thank you for joining the stream for the first time. If you don't follow us on Facebook, please do so. Also on YouTube, and please come out of the table and say hello to Lyle and Brandon at their table, or us at ours, or wherever we might be. But again, he's going to show us a shirt. Right on. I like it.
I just bought it this past weekend up in Pennsylvania, so it was pretty cool. I had to show it. I love that shirt.
I like it.
So
so come out and see us. Go check them out on Facebook. And Daniel, we appreciate you. Hang out in the back lobby. We'll see you in a little bit.
Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Thank you guys.
Thanks a lot.